I don't think personally he's natural because I've seen him go up and down.
Yeah, and then the hair loss has to be talked about.
So like his transformation and the way he has like gone from like being in okay shape to insane shape really fast, but also maintaining that much muscle mass.
Michael Hearn.
Baby, don't hurt me. Said this so many times. He's so dug in to this whole like I'm natural thing.
Andrew Eubanks.
Oh, I love Andrew. I would say he's natural or on something very minimal.
All right, guys, we're back. We're here with Eric, an IFBB pro bodybuilder. Now, Eric reached out to me and he told me, look, man, I want to get bigger. One day, I want to be as big as you. And I said, you know what, Eric? I think I can help you with that. No, I'm just kidding. He's going to put me through a workout and, you know, we'll see how we do. We'll see if we can hang. I don't think I can, but I'll try. So I'm thinking we're going to train some back. So
I usually start with a pull down movement. For me, it's just about opening up the back, getting really good stretch, really good peak contraction. Instead of start with like, let's say a heavy hip hinge, because I like to get into the hip hinge stuff once everything's nice and warmed up. So we'll start with this pull down over here. What we're trying to do here, drive a good amount of blood flow into the tissue, but also just kind of like obviously get a good amount of range of motion in. So the biggest cues I give people on my pull downs, obviously a big stretch. So I kind of open up here, reach for it. And then when I drive down and in, I pull the chest open. I pull the shoulders back and down to retract the scapula and then release nice and slow. So one of the biggest points of emphasis on a pull down or anything you're doing is by accentuating the negative. So the part where you're actually going up, you're gonna get a lot of that tissue accumulation and hypertrophy on the negative. A lot of people will focus here and they'll be like that and they'll let it go. What you wanna do is pull down, squeeze, retract, and then almost pretend like you're letting it up with the lats. So you're not just letting it go slowly, you're actually releasing through your lats.
I feel like I'm in school right now. Buddy's taking me to school. I'm like thinking you're gonna break the fucking machine doing that. Did you follow bodybuilding much before you got into it, or?
I started really following it in like the mid-teens, so like 2015. It was like right when Classic Physique kind of came around.
Were you working out to that point, or like that's what got you into it?
I started lifting when I was like 12.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
You were probably a big body.
I was kind of a fat kid, and then I shot up and I was in high school. And then I kind of like just slimmed out because I was playing football too.
I was like, a lot of people asked me if I was skinny or fat before I started training. I was actually skinny fat. So I had like these long dangly arms and I had like a belly. Really like hard to look at old photos, to be honest. And then when I started getting more into sports, I lost like a lot of the fat. So I was kind of like skinny technically, but like my genetics are like skinny fat. I kind of just suck.
You gotta do what you gotta do with the genetics you're given.
Yeah.
Squeeze, one more squeeze.
You're my diamond toe. You're my diamond toe.
3 more. Fucking hell.
Yeah. You're my money toe.
That's just the first fucking exercise too. That shows you the merit of having a partner. There's no way I would have finished that set without some fucking help. Sam Sulek, what do you think?
Definitely 100% natural, like just fucking.
If you don't think this dude's natural, you're a hater. I'm gonna be real.
Fucking beta. He doesn't talk about it, but people wouldn't be following his journey as much if he didn't have this insane physique at the age he does, and also the progression he's had. Yeah. Dude has like, I'd say like, what would you say? I'd say top 3% genetics. He's a hyper responder to gear, and he's also top like 1% in terms of genetics, just bodybuilding in general, if he was to do it naturally or enhanced. So like those two things are obviously going to lead him to be like a fucking beast at his age. So
a good way to tell if you're gonna be a good responder to like training natural or not is if you're athletic. Like if you're a good football player or a good wrestler in high school, chances are if you start dieting and training, you'll respond pretty well. Which Sam, I think he was a diver, but if you look back to his old photos, he's pretty fucking jacked, man. A lot of people actually do think he's natural, which confuses the fuck out of me. You know, you see the acne and everything, and he probably was acne prone anyway, but so obviously health's a concern, but you know, we hope he's healthy. Yeah, so moving on, someone a little more low-key, Mr. Andrew Eubanks.
Oh, I love Andrew. I would say he's natural or on something very minimal, just because his physique, it doesn't scream to me like enhanced, like there's no way, like if you just look at height to weight ratios, he's definitely in line with somebody who has great genetics. He's also got great structure. So we have to remember, if you have like small waist, great insertions, you're just gonna look enhanced because you just have that like kind of bubbly look to you, and also the proportions are there. If he had a wide waist and terrible structure, narrow shoulders, and he was the way he is with this, like the amount of muscle he has, nobody would ever claim this guy or blame this guy for being on gear. I think he's been on clomiphene. I think he's done a couple other things, but I don't think it's like he's been on Tren, for example.
I think a big issue that people have with him was the Photoshop that went down.
Yeah.
So they're thinking, okay, he might look natural, but if he was Photoshopping his pictures, and then it's a little sus anyway, because like, why does he have, you know, these 3D delts or whatever? Is that the Photoshop? But we've already established he's not trustworthy in that sense. So he might be taking like a SARM or something, which obviously isn't a strong thing to take. Not like, it's not Tren or anything, but that would make him not natural.
I have a question for you though, and
Yeah.
I have my own opinion on this. Do you think that once you cross the line, is it worse to say, like, for example, like the Liver King, who you know now is obviously on like a ton of shit and claiming natural. Do you think it's less bad if somebody's, let's say, on just a SARM and they're still claiming natural? Or do you think it's like, once you cross the line, it's like equally bad?
I honestly think it's probably worse if it's not blatantly obvious. General population of people with a brain knew the Liver King wasn't natural and they weren't
gym
buying
population that had a
think?
brain. Yeah, I think the general population thought it could be possible. Like, oh, this guy's just like super primal and he fucking works out a lot. And I think we're in it so deep that we could see it, but there's so many people. Dude, there was people even after he came out, they were like still on his nuts in the comments, like, oh, well, he was probably natural before this. You guys are all fucking haters.
Yeah. The question you're asking is like, how bad is the lie? I think it just depends like on who it's affecting, right? If you're just a random dude in the gym and you're on Tren and someone comes up to you and says, are you natural? And you say yes, that's not that bad. But if you have a huge audience of kids who look up to you and you're claiming natural, then it's obviously worse. And so for Alex to be like borderline natural, affect so many people, I think that's where like the problem is. Once you have an audience, you then have a responsibility to be like honest with them, because at the end of the day, like lying to 2 million people is worse than lying to like 3 people.
He's a man of God, though.
Yeah, he loves Jesus, so he'd never lie, of course. He's not natty. Obviously, Sam Selleck, also not natty. But moving on, this guy gets a lot of comparisons to Mr. Andrew Eubanks. Claim natural as well, like, but I don't think he does anymore. We got David Lade.
Dude just has one of the most like unreasonably fucking aesthetics physiques I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I like fucking hate him whenever I see him on camera. Like, dude, you're like that good looking and your waist is that small and you're fucking like 6'3". He's a tall dude with crazy small waist structure. It's all about the illusion. That's what bodybuilding is. Like, I'm 290 pounds, but like if I had the waist of fucking Andrew Eubanks, I think it would be look that much more dramatic. Bodybuilding is all about like the illusion. So I think that's why he gets natural. I don't think personally he's natural because I've seen him go up and down.
Yeah, and then the hair loss has to be talked about. Shedding really bad, and he's only 25.
I mean, that does. I can't say that's like.
It probably accelerated
it probably accelerated, but I've seen guys go bald at like 22 and not be on anything. Like I've had football buddies who I know for a fact were never on anything that were like.
It just doesn't help his case, but
definitely doesn't help your case. But
I think he probably like took some orals or something.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Personally, I just don't think it's like lifetime.
I'm gonna say not natural for Mr. David Lade.
I'm gonna say not natural, but I also think it's like kind of the same thing as Alex. It's not like a fucking huge cycle, but I think it's a little bit maybe here and there sprinkled in to make him look the way he does.
I'm gonna throw a curveball. This guy is not necessarily from the fitness industry. Kind of has some ties to it because of a hydration drink he has. It's Mr. Logan Paul here.
I think he's got I think he's got enough money that he could hire somebody who's extremely gifted in knowing what he can take and be under the radar. That's why like a lot of your favorite like professional fighters, athletes are usually on stuff, but they are being given it by somebody who's extremely knowledgeable in terms of what's going to get under the radar. So it could be some sort of peptides, it could be some sort of like anabolics that's super fast acting, like a liquid, like a water-based test. Designer steroids, things that aren't even tested for yet. Like he's going to have access because he has more money than he knows what to do with. Also like his transformation and the way he has like gone from like being in okay shape to insane shape really fast, but also maintaining that much muscle mass while doing so much cardio is a little sus to me.
I agree with that, and I think the way like he gets the roundness of his muscle bellies, the way he gets like pumped after doing absolutely nothing. Also, his buddy Mike's on testosterone. Probably reported back to Logan, hey, these are the crazy benefits I'm getting. He could be on testosterone, he could be on GH, which is in and out of your system. He has admitted to taking peptides and having them be life-changing. If he took something like an IGF, not be considered natural, of course. There's a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that Logan is not natural, and I'm gonna say he's not natty. You also agree? Not natty?
Not natty.
KSI, what are we thinking here?
KSI, I wouldn't be surprised if he was actually natural. Like, you got those beautiful African genetics and things just start to change for you. I mean, there's guys here that work out this gym that, I mean, they claim natural and I believe them, but their physiques are like crazy good.
Oh yeah.
Genetics play a huge role in what you're able to achieve naturally, and also like the look you're able to maintain like without even working out. So for that reason, I do think that it's very possible for him to be natural. I don't think there's anything in his physique that I see that I'm like, there's no like really like hardness, crazy rounded shoulders, pump that he stays with all the time. I just don't see it.
I agree with that. I would say he's definitely not on anything year round. Maybe to prepare for a fight, you take a little something, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he is natural. All right, next up, Notorious. I don't know, I might get this video flagged, so we might have to take this this section out, but Mr. Andrew Tate.
I've just seen how poorly he trains. Like, it's like abysmal how badly he trains.
Yeah.
Have you seen his like shoulder workout?
Yeah.
Where he's like, the jailhouse workout, he's like,
He doesn't
yeah,
know
you
how to
gotta
train.
you gotta take this thing and you gotta toss it like
He
this.
probably knows how to train for fighting, but not for hypertrophy.
No, and I think that there's just like, he holds a little bit too much muscle mass for me to think that with how poorly he trains, how poorly he eats, and how little he gives a fuck about just about anything, how much he drinks alcohol. All these things are so counterproductive in terms of muscle building and muscle retention that it's just, for me, it's just like, I just can't see it being 100% natural. Let's say this dude is doing everything right. You see him like fucking sleeping 8 hours, not drinking alcohol, like really like having a private chef that cooks all his meals. I'd be like, dude, that's for sure attainable. But like knowing everything that we know about him, I just can't see it.
I have some Andrew Tate lore. Back in the day, he was actually one of Derek from More Plates, More Dates, first Gorilla Mind affiliates. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
He was big into like nootropics and like having the best cognitive performance, best like athletic performance in terms of taking supplementation. When he goes on his stream and he talks about testosterone peptides, he plays dumb. It's like, dude, you know what TRT is, you know what all this stuff is.
Yeah.
It's true for him to say, oh, I drink alcohol, I smoke cigars, and then I have this good physique. Meanwhile, we know he doesn't train properly. He's probably taking something to elevate his performance a little bit. He does look natural to me. I feel like I've seen guys hold that amount of muscle.
It's so attainable naturally. It's just so counter to what I see his lifestyle being.
True.
That it's hard for me to believe that, especially when he was fighting. So it just, for me, things aren't adding up for me, especially at his age. What is he, late 30s now, early 40s?
I think he's 36, 37.
37?
I think he's on a little bit of TRT, not natural.
I'm gonna say not natural.
Not natural for Andrew Tate. Next up, the Notorious
Shizzy.
Throat Slash. We got Shizzy. What are we thinking? 25-inch arms naturally.
Dude, this is such a tough one. Like, I do think, same thing, probably top 3% bodybuilding genetics. He just holds so much muscle at his height. What is he, also 6'2" or?
I know he's definitely taller than 6'2". I think he's between 6'3" and 6'4".
And honestly, I did a video analyzing his training. He does the right things. Like, he actually uses a good amount of time under tension. He does really push close to failure. He trains with intensity.
Yeah.
I will respect him for that. I just think for me, seeing the arc of his progression would lend me to believe that he's not. I would be very surprised. Somebody like was like, if I could like press a button, see if he was actually natural, it said natural. I'd be more surprised that I am not surprised. So that's for that reason for me, I'm gonna say he's not.
I think his arms are just too fucking big. When you take gear, obviously your best muscle group responds the best, like it would when you're natural. So he's natural with fucking biggest arms I've ever seen. So when he takes gear, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna have 25-inch arms, 30-inch arms? A lot of people say, oh, well, if he didn't have such great arm genetics, he would appear natural. Well, it's like, you can't just discount the arms, right? It's like, if I have crazy cap shoulders, oh, but without the shoulders, he looks natural. Okay, but you can't like take away my shoulders. In my opinion, not natural. Good physique, he trains hard apparently. I don't watch his videos, but little curveball here, Trend Twins. Now, obviously we know the Trend Twins are not natural, but when they were natural or claimed to be natural, they had absolutely insane physiques. What do you think about this?
They have so much density. I think that like they're the same way. They're shorter too. So even if they only are like 180 pounds, they look really fucking big. If they maintain at least decent conditioning, I'd say 16, 18% body fat. I wouldn't say it's unfeasible for them to have looked like that naturally. Obviously we know now they're enhanced. I think before they were enhanced, I wouldn't say that they were lying about about it because I don't think the amount of muscle was so absurd. You can have actually a small amount of muscle at 5'5" and just look really fucking big.
Yo, but they're like 210 at 5'5".
But they weren't that big back then.
No, probably, I don't know. They're still benching in the fives though.
I mean, at the end of the day, who really gives a fuck if they start juicing at 17 or 18? Like, they're very transparent about it, which I can respect.
I would say, like, to me, if I were to look at them, I'd be like, yo, there's no way they're natural. But to see how much progress they made after they, like, said they're gonna take gear, it's like, okay, yeah, they were natural before, and they look insane now. They looked insane before, but now it's like, it makes sense. Like, when you see a progression like that, versus a lot of people will be a fake natty, then to save their ass, they're like, oh, I'm about to do a cycle, and then they don't really make progress. So you're like, what the fuck? Trend twins before, natural. Mike O'Hearn.
Baby, don't hurt me. Said this so many times that with Mike, he's so dug in to this whole like I'm natural thing, and I think he's like so dug in that he even believes it. But I think the bigger thing for him is that I know this dude and he fucking works so hard. Like he dedicates his fucking life to bodybuilding. Like his routine is so methodical. Whatever thing he puts into his mouth is so calculated. He doesn't do fucking cheat meals. He fucking trains so hard. Whenever you say that you're on, like even if he's on like a low to mid dose of testosterone, that's it.
People are gonna discredit
People are gonna discredit
so
every fucking thing he does. And that's tough. Like I feel that, right? Like, because people look at me, it's like obviously they're just like, oh, it's just so many steroids, and this dude just like sweating steroids. And it's like, it sucks because I do so many of the other things right, but that's all that people see. They're just like, oh, he's a fucking geared out asshole.
They see what you flexing on stage, but they don't see the work you're putting in behind the scenes, meal prepping, training properly.
So I think that Mike's so dug into this whole like I'm natural and like this is what you can achieve even at, let's say 40, what is he, 48, 50 years old?
He's in his 50s.
He's in his 50s, so like to him, he holds on to that so much that he doesn't want people to just, because if it comes out, everything he's done will be just ripped to shred.
That would be the biggest fitness story. Even though we all know it, it's like the Liver King.
I wonder, my thing is like, how has he been so careful that nobody in the last 20 years has come out and been like, oh yeah, I give fucking Mike all his shit.
Probably homebrews, someone like that. It's like you can't buy from a dealer because it's like they then have incentive to fuck you over because it's like, bro, you could literally sell that story to TMZ or something.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. When he came up, it was a time when everyone was faking being natural. Now it's like almost like cooler to like admit that you're on shit. Even though you'll get some flack on it, people are always gonna be there because they want to hear about the truth of bodybuilding or the fitness industry. So it's gonna be the end of the video. Like and subscribe. Catch you guys in the next one. I'm gonna inject his glute now.